Hello, and welcome to our panel discussion on the situational approach to virtual leadership. I'm Laura Corbin with Team 6, and today we will be discussing the Situational Leadership 2 model and how the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the atmosphere for virtual working and leadership. Through these unprecedented times, for many of us, our professional lives have drastically changed. We were interested in diving deep into this model because the progression through the performance behaviors mimics what many followers were going through working virtually for the first time. When the pandemic hit, we were looking for a very directive leadership style. We wanted concrete information during a very uncertain period. As time has passed through this pandemic, many followers have moved through the developmental levels of the Situational Leadership 2 model and have moved back towards our new normal. Matt, Bobby, Asia, and Danielle are going to give examples of how they perform certain leadership behaviors on this model while working virtually.
In regards to how I perform a directed behavior virtually, all of my improvement projects require support from different departments in my plant. Finance has to be a part of it. They have to approve anything that we put into place. IT helps out with program changes and installation for PLC programming. Engineering assists with that, along with any mechanical upgrades. Maintenance adds on to their PM list. And production gives feedback and helps with implementation of my projects. In order to organize that support, we meet together through meetings, but since COVID restrictions are in place, we have to use Teams meetings, which is in a virtual atmosphere. Makes it a little bit difficult to get everybody together in one place to get project updates from everyone who's responsible for certain aspects of the project. So far it's been difficult at times, and sometimes it's easier. But these meetings require a leader regardless, and that's my role for most of the improvement projects that I put in place. They're my ideas, so naturally I am the one put in charge of leading the meeting. What I do is I lay out the scope of my project along with costs, benefits, and labor requirements depending on what the project is. Some mechanical upgrades or enhancements, they take more time. They generally take 4 to 6 months to implement. They cost more, and they have the quickest return on investment. If I'm doing a procedural or internal process change, those take normally 4 months to implement. They have the slowest return on investment just because the impact is smaller than a mechanical change. But after the scope and costs have been approved by each department, we move forward into implementation, where I have to direct what departments do in each part of the project. I have to lay out what IT will help me with as far as program changes, engineering as far as mechanical changes, and production for implementation. As the project leader, I have to also be the one giving the time frame of expected completion dates. So I have to hold everyone to those completion dates. If I ask engineering when can they get certain parts installed or mechanical changes implemented, they have to give me a time and date when they can get that done, and I have to hold them to that. Same thing for production. If they're doing procedural changes, how long will it take them to get those procedural changes done? And we'll do weekly or bi-weekly updates to see where they are in that project. Breaking these items down into separate parts helps keep everyone on an even timeline, and it'll keep the project in line for completion.
Like Matt, my office provides direction to departments that report to us. We give directions on a multitude of topics ranging from budget to finance and even personnel matters. We also provide a high level of support to the unit business personnel with skill sets ranging from new and inexperienced to veterans with many years under their belts. Both skill levels may require high levels of direction and support. When the pandemic began a year ago and we were working primarily from home, the need for a coaching style increased. Most of our normal processes required big changes. Therefore, we had to adapt to a new way of handling common issues. With these changes, we communicated instructions to those direct reporting units. We also provided a high level of understanding and empathy for the personnel who were doing their best to meet deadlines while facing challenges at home.
My department, I2IT, is an analytical department aiding in research instrumentation that is available to faculty, staff, students, and other outside users. Similar to Bobby's office, I2IT plays a vital role in supporting these research endeavors. While I was teleworking, it was my responsibility as the purchasing coordinator to ensure that the appropriate PPE, equipment, accessories, and any other office supplies were stocked in order to use these equipments. My position is critical in ensuring that operation and research flow smoothly and they are able to meet their time-sensitive deadlines.
In contrast to Asia's style, my situational approach was to delegate to my interns virtually. Communication is pivotal when delegating. You want to make sure you are clear and concise in your delivery to prevent any communication breakdowns. I would meet with my interns individually via Zoom twice a week to discuss and assess projects from most important to least important. I would also provide tangible dates for sections of projects to be completed.
In all of the behavior styles that our team has performed, navigating through a virtual workplace is not without its challenges. Many of the challenges that we face would not be different than a traditional work setting, but the physical distance between coworkers can amplify weaknesses, such as accountability, distraction, and communication. Matt, Bobby, Asia, and Danielle are going to explain a few of their toughest challenges while working virtually.
Some of the challenges that I face as a project leader and using the directive approach is that I don't have enough control over the group in a virtual aspect. I also have to deal with irresponsibility and lack of accountability when it comes to certain team members who cause delays or don't complete their projects in a timely fashion. Some people are people that don't like to work in groups, and some people just don't like things to change and they want to keep things as the status quo. So not everyone can agree to the scope or benefits of the project as I present them early on. Some that I work with need to see the project evolve over time, but can generally be persuaded to see the positive aspects as it's being built. The solution to these problems is to stay the course of the project scope and meet with those who struggle to see the project capabilities on their own and try to find some common ground. Another solution, if it's been accepted by the majority of the team, it's then important to stick to your convictions and stay within the scope of your project that everyone's already agreed to. One of the benefits of the directive approach is that I'm not stuck with anyone who is part of my group. Anyone is replaceable for these improvement projects due to how important they are to the overall benefit of the company. And they've already been agreed to by every manager that's in my support groups that help me get my project to completion. So anyone can be replaced with someone who's more agreeable and easier to work with and actually sees the benefits of the projects that we're working on.
One of the challenges I faced was continuing to provide a high level of support to team members with the added distractions of working from home. There was always a kid in need, a dog barking, or some other home-related interference. In the article titled, Achieving Effective Remote Working During the COVID-19 Pandemic, A Work Design Perspective, Wang, Liu, Ken, and Parker found 4 key remote work challenges. One of these was work-home interference. I feel like a solution to this is communicating clear expectations and deadlines while providing some flexibility in work hours.
So one of the main challenges that I say I experience while working virtually would be communication. As a purchasing coordinator, it is vital that we establish relationships and we stay in constant communications, not only with our coworkers, but with the internal and external users and with the companies or vendors we order from. Before the pandemic, it was very convenient for anyone to come into my office and request I order or reorder an item. But once the pandemic began and I started working from home, we had to come up with a new system in which I was notified. And it became very challenging staying in constant contact with the different vendors because not only was my teleworking schedule kind of weird, but these vendors had their own COVID schedules, which means, let's say the sales team came in on Monday and Wednesdays, and their shipping teams came in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it was adjustment trying to get used to all the different vendors and their new COVID schedules. But I tried to remain in constant contact with them so I can remain up to date on their COVID restrictions and their purchasing policies or their shipping policies.
Virtual leadership doesn't go without its challenges. The biggest challenge I faced leading my team members, aside from technological blips, was accountability. Leading virtually is sort of like taking online classes. You must stay on top of your assignments and not allow outside distractions to affect your progress. My solution to improving accountability was to improve our communication. I wanted to create a positive space with open communication and feedback to accomplish our goals. MIT states having check-in conversations of 10 to 15 minutes on a regular basis with team members can help recreate the organic moments that used to happen in person. Instant messaging or text can also help for quick check-ins as a complement to video or phone-based conversations.
In all of the challenges that our team faced, it was important for them to improvise and communicate. An article that I read recently compared virtual leadership and situational leadership to a jazz ensemble. Unlike classical orchestras, jazz ensembles rely on shared leadership, collaboration, improvisation, and communication. You could say that the classical approach is a more directive style of leadership, and the jazz approach is equivalent to a situational leadership style. Communication and improvisation skills become a crucial asset for any part of a virtual team. Another importance of continued communication is motivation. While a workforce is separated and the typical coffee run chats are not happening, formal and informal communication is the sheet of music that keeps a team playing together. Matt, Asia, Bobby, and Daniel are going to give some tips on staying motivated.
In regards to how I keep my team motivated in a virtual aspect using directive approaches, keeping everyone on task in a face-to-face capacity is difficult enough. Making everything virtual has just made things more difficult. But I believe responsibility and teamwork, whether in face-to-face or virtual atmospheres, will be the key to keeping everyone from different support groups on task and motivated throughout the course of the project. Most of the steps to achieve project completion rely on certain support groups completing their task on time and trying to prevent delays. The project will likely fail if those tasks are not completed and they cause unnecessary delays and they are coupled with a loss of motivation. For example, we have to anticipate any type of delays from engineering if they're ordering parts for a mechanical upgrade. So when we anticipate that type of delay early on in the project planning, we focus in on the other support groups that can do their projects in the meantime while we're waiting on parts to be delivered. It's more effective. As group leader, it's my job to keep everyone motivated. I use positive reinforcement language and praising those who complete their projects on time or early, and keep everyone motivated through that type of interaction. It's always a positive interaction. I try and keep that along the course of the project to keep everyone motivated and figure out any problems that may come up during the project steps. One of the benefits that I have now that we're back at work is that if someone is struggling to complete their task, I can meet with them one-on-one in order to disseminate where the problems are coming from, discuss any problems that they might be having, and see if I can resolve the problem.
I believe that communication is key to motivating a team in a virtual setting. Bob Nelson said, an employee's motivation is a direct result of the sum of the interactions with his or her manager. A leader should provide opportunities for team members to interact with the leader and with one another. This interaction can serve as a way to discuss goals, provide feedback for ongoing projects, celebrate accomplishments, or simply to say, I care.
So, when it comes to virtual motivation or motivation in general, not only did I have to motivate my coworkers who are research technicians, but I had to motivate the users because it was their research projects that we were working on that had time-sensitive deadlines. I had to constantly reassure them that items that were needed for these projects would be ordered in the same timely manner that I was providing before the pandemic. A way to alleviate some of their stress, I used to forward them purchasing confirmations or shipping notifications so they can track the orders as they go. I stayed on the phone constantly with companies I never heard of or companies I've never even purchased from, just to make sure the items we needed were in a timely manner. It is my job as the purchasing coordinator to alleviate any purchasing stress off our researchers. And that way they can solely focus on the duty that is at hand.
For me, staying motivated virtually is hard because of outside distractions and lack of social interaction. I have found that one-on-one Zoom meetings as well as words of encouragement help me to stay motivated. Showing appreciation for one's hard work goes a long way. Forbes states, letting words compensate for the limited ways you can keep them motivated and always encouraging your members to do more has a greater impact on productivity and creative ideas.
Matt, Bobby, Asia, and Danielle all raise great ideas on how to keep a team motivated. But for some followers, they just might be past that point. Since so many aspects of our daily lives have changed over the last year, many people are experiencing burnout. The Wall Street Journal states that burnout involves 3 key components: exhaustion, cynicism, and inefficiency. Often when followers experience burnout, employers take the "if you can't take the fire, stay out of the kitchen" approach. But if we encourage and motivate our followers, work through challenges, and determine the correct situational behavior performance, we should have a healthier follower-leader relationship. From Team 6, thank you so much in taking part of our panel discussion today. We hope you learned from our shared virtual working experiences and gained a better understanding of how to apply the Situational Leadership 2 model. Thanks again.